Good morning, everyone. In the last session, we are trying to discuss about the securities issues here. So, what exactly we missed here? So, if you observe carefully, first what we did here, we added one of the important section called the security namespace here, and after that we added this particular security XSD configuration. Okay, so using this, now we are able to see this particular sections here. Okay, so whatever we are able to see, so HTTP auto configure to, and here we are using this particular use expression too. So why I'm making this particular use expression? Here we are using something. This is we'll call it as a expression here. Okay, so this is we can call it as a expression. So now finally, what I will do, I will remove this particular unwanted stuff here. So we don't need this. So far, otherwise we can keep this if it is required. So as admin I'm making, and error page and default login as well as this logout. Okay, so whatever we are having, I'm trying to remove these three sections here. So now if you observe carefully, now what we are doing is we are giving the permission to login and logout also we are giving the permission. So same time we are giving the permission to this particular access denied. So these three login directly we can access without any security. Okay, so first we'll see like how it is going to work internally. Now if you see, this is the login page we are able to see. And if I'm trying to click on the logout also, logout. So right now, we don't have a logout page. So what we can do basically, if I want to make this particular logout page, first we need to go to this. So before going to discuss about the logout page, I want to discuss about this particular access denied. I want to discuss about this particular access denied here. Now what I am getting here, so we are able to see 401. Without security, now we are able to access this particular page called access denied. Now, same way, what we can do, we'll try to implement the logout also. So I hope we have a logout page here. Get in the way. So you're not. So you are now logged out successfully. Okay. So this message we are going to see, and internally inside our home controller, what we can write here. So this is important here. So however, we are defining this particular access denied. Same way, we need to define the logout also. And here, the method should be, so far we are not returning anything here. Simply, we are trying to return this particular logout here. Okay, simply we are trying to return this particular logout here. We'll see if it is refresh successful. Let me try. Here I'm trying to click on the logout here. No, it is not working. So we need to stop and restart the server. Okay. Now if you see, this is important, we need to understand here. Here I'm trying to click on this particular logout here. What happening? So we'll see like what is the URL pattern we provided. Okay, so it should load basically. Why whatever we provided, logout permit all. We have a logout JSP, and same thing I implemented logout. So voice should be small only. We'll identify from here. We'll see this page is loading or not. Okay, why this page is not loading? So inside this network, so it is redirected. Okay, it's trying to call these many logout internally. Okay, if I click on this, okay, this is calling these many calls internally. Okay, anyway, so we'll identify this logout. So it should work basically whatever we provided here. So whatever the endpoint we are giving here. So this is I given as a permit all, so that without any security we can access this. And now we identified the login and access the how we are able to see. So same way we should get this particular logout here. So I'm expecting, is there any logout? I think no. So we are not missing anything. Okay, so this is the page. No. Okay, anyway, we'll identify this, how it is going to work. So finally, now what we are doing here, we are trying to log in into Spring and with the help of this particular security. So if you see this, now we are able to come back to our home page. Getting the point. So this is we discuss here. So basically what happened yesterday, we are trying to providing the different URL information. So because of that, we got the 403 access denied error. So it could not come back to the home page. Now it is coming back to successfully. But whatever we implemented here, so whatever we implemented, this section we can call it as a in-memory authentication. Get independent. In-memory authentication basically, so here we are going to provide the information here. So inside the configuration file, we are going to provide the username and the password. If the username and password it's not matched here, now what happens internally? Where it will go? Get independent. So where it will go? This is important. We need to understand here. If I'm going to provide this section, now you can see here, I'm trying to give something different to username and password. So now you can see we are moving into the access denied. Getting the point. So we are moving back to the access denied. So why we are moving? Because the username password, whatever we provided, those are wrong here. Getting the point. So those are wrong. So in that case, now what you can do? You can build one error page. Getting the point. So you can build one error page and you can provide the whatever the information we are going to provide. So where we provided here. So this is the important section we need to understand: authentication failure URL. Getting the point. So authentication failure URL, we need to provide this particular information here. Okay. So this is another important section. So whenever the user failed with help of the username password, we are providing the failure URL here. So now I'm moving back to the access denied here. The access denied, it is trying to redirecting here. Okay. So this is the way of providing this particular information. Now, so now if everything is goes successful, now what we are able to see here, we are able to see home page. So this is the home page we are able to see. Getting the point. Now, what I want to provide the another important section basically here, instead of discussing this particular in-memory authentication, now we want to discuss about the one of the important example called database authentication. Getting the point. So I want to load the username and password from the database. Getting the point. This is important information I want to discuss here, how we can load username and password from the database. So how we can load here? So for now, what I'm trying to provide here, first I will create this particular login class. Inside the login class, now what we can do here, I'm providing one field called boolean valid flag. Okay, so this is important, we need to understand here. Along with this, now I'm going to provide the set of. So these are all the configuration we need when we are trying to discuss about the database authentication. So far we are discussing in-memory authentication here. Okay, so role class we are going to create here. So with the help of this particular hash set, we are going to generate the role sections here. Okay, so this is important. So we are going to discuss about these two sections here. So valid flag as well as the particular role section. Okay, now what we need to understand here, we need to create a one class here. So what is the class we need to create here? Here we need to create a one role class. Let me finish this. So this is the role class we are having, and ID, and what we can identify here, so string role name, or we can call it as a role here. Getting the point. So these two are the important information. Now here what I will do, I'm going to provide the one-to-many association. Getting the point. This is important. Here we are going to provide the one-to-many association. So how we can discuss about this particular one-to-many association? This is important information we need to understand here. Okay. So here what I'm doing here, I'm going to generate this particular setters and getters here. And this particular class also I'm going to make serializable, because here now what we are doing is we are trying to save into this particular the section called JMS. Okay, so we are trying to save the data into the Active queue. Now finally what we are doing is we are trying to create one of the important section called set of roles, and here we are trying to create one login. Getting the point. So login is only one, roles we are going to have multiple. Now what we need to understand here, so we need to create the one roles.hbm.xml file. Role we can create, otherwise we can also create roles. Okay, so roles.hbm.xml file. So this is the XML file I'm going to create here, and before going to create this XML, now here what we can identify here, we need to discuss about the another important section called here what we can discuss here. So we have a one property. What is the property we are having in the login? Something like a property name valid flag, and here valid underscore flag I'm going to create here, and the based on the data type it will take care of. Okay, and another one we need to discuss about the roles here. So how we can discuss about the role? So to discuss about this particular role, now what we need, set here. Now what is the name we are providing? Roles here. Okay, and here what is the key column we need to use here? So the something like this is important inside this particular key. So what is the column we are going to use here? Login ID. Okay, so here we are going to come up with the same login ID, because here we are mapping with the login ID. And after this particular key, now what we can provide here? So one to many. And one to many class. What is the class we can provide? Something like role. Getting the point. So this is the mapping we are trying to create in our login class. In our login class, set of roles here. So it's like a whatever we discuss in the Hibernate bid and do item related section. So we are going to define the same section here. And whenever I'm trying to move this, let me copy this and I will paste it inside this particular role class. So this is we are going to discuss about the role and the tables I'm going to create as a roles. So here role ID, and here what we are discussing here for this particular role ID, what we can provide here. So simply we can use this particular role ID as it is, whatever we are going to discuss here. Generator instead of this particular foreign key. Now what we can do? We'll make this particular login. Okay, so we don't need this, the generator directly we can provide, because we are going to create a one column in the roles table. Okay, this is specifically we can provide here. So generator class. So what we can provide? Identity, or we can send the register whatever we provided native. So we can copy the native so that every class it should be same. And what we are having the particular another column, a role here. So this is the role, and role name. Okay, and here I'm trying to remove this particular properties. And so what is the another property we are going to discuss here? So here many to one. So what is the many to one we are having? Login we are having. Okay, and what is the class we are having? The class we are having login. Getting the point. So here whatever we are defining one to one, so same thing we are using for this particular register and login class. And for many to one also we are going to use the same login. In the roles table we created like in the roles class we created the same login here. And the column I want to provide, it is going to match with which column? Login underscore ID. Okay, and so if you are interested you can add not null constraint here. So we can make not null. So this is we need here in our roles table. Okay, this is important. We need to understand regarding this particular roles table. So what is we are missing? No, nothing is missing. So everything is provided successfully. So login class we created here, and register. Sorry, we need to modify in the register. Now we did wrong. So we are doing the wrong place here. Here we need to create role name. Okay, and here, so it is not a one to one, it is a many to one association. Many to one. something like login. The class also we are discussing login. Column, this role ID, it is going to match with this particular column ID, and this is not null, true I'm making. These are all the main configuration we provided in our roles.hbm.com. And finally, what we need to understand here, when we are trying to discuss about this particular home controller, here when we are trying to save, where is the method? This one. Okay, and here, so this is JMS template. So here we need to construct the roles object. Role is equals to new role I'm trying to construct here. Okay, so after constructing this particular role, now what we can do, role dot set ID, set role we need to set first. So what I'm trying to set here, role underscore user. Getting there. So role underscore user I'm trying to set here, and after this, role dot set login. So we have a login, and another section here we can write login dot set of roles here. Set of roles. And what I'm doing here, set of here, whatever the method we are having, role I'm calling. Okay, so this is important, we need to understand. Set of role. So finally, we are going to call this particular register object here. This is the way of setting here. So now another important method we are missing here in the login class. Login dot valid flag boolean dot true. Okay, this is also important here. Now we'll see whether these particular tables are creating or not. So we are trying to create multiple tables now. So we need to identify so how this section is going to work internally. So again I'm trying to run. Okay, some exception we are getting. Association unmapped here. So somewhere we are getting association mapping exception here. MVC.role unmapped class call MVC.role. Let me go to this. Here we are missing role we are mapping here. Where we are missing set of roles we have, and in the roles table we are having login. So we can make cascade all here. Here we are having, we'll identify from where we are getting this. MVC.role property name role column we are having, we are making a role. So one to many association, and in the many to one we are having login here. So let me provide here also. So this is the one to many mapping. Let's see. Still we are getting, yes. So it is not resolved. second pass. So like from where it is trying to create Hibernate template, session factory, okay, mapping association unnamed unmapped class called MVC.role. So he's expecting to map on which class. Okay, so here, so fetch we can write here. Let's try with select fetch, it is not there. Modify 3.0. Set of roles we are having, and inside this particular so table, okay, so I think I'm missing inverse. Let me add inverse, so it should make a reverse also. I think this is we are expecting. So again I'm trying to run the same application. No. Association reference unmapped class. Let's see, in the classes do we don't have anything. So login class. So inside the login class we are having a role section, and inside the roles we are having login. Okay, so in the inside the roles, so role we are having another property, login we are having. So many to one login. So it's correct. Login column ID cascade fetch select here. Set of roles and inverse I'm making true. And this is we can make here not null constraints also. Okay, so here in the login, if it is a one-to-one, okay, so let me make constraints. We can make constraint also. So inverse also it's fine. Okay, in the set it is not available. Where it is exactly available in the 3.0. Somewhere we download the 3.0. Let me download this mapping XSD. So it is not copied. What we are trying to use constraint. Okay, so one-to-one. Foreign key. So in the many to one association, what we can add here? So name we are providing access. Entity name, column name, foreign key and lazy. This is we are having for many to one. So what we can add? Name we added access. Okay, first we'll identify one to many. Okay, this is the one to many we have. What we can add? Class we are able to add entity name. So only we can add entity name. So under class not found exception ignore. So this section is not available. Not found exception entity name. So entity name also it should be the role only. Whatever we are giving the entity name, that should be the role only. So I think it is not needed. So why we are getting association of unmapped class called MVC role? Here we are providing the mapping. In what's true? Com dot spring MVC, and here also com dot spring MVC. Same we are having, and we stored the class in the MVC package only. It's correct. Okay, let's see. If I'll make this, so whatever we are providing, login class, fetch we are having, and column ID not null. Sorry, I'm trying to run one more time. So maybe I change the generator type here because everything we provided properly. Okay, so still we are getting an exception. Association reference. Let me check with is there anything we are missing? So most of the cases we are not missing anything. So he's having car and the company. They are having lot of. So class should be mapped as well as it should be company in the both references from the car. Oh, got it. So we missed here in our file here. Sorry. Here I did not add it. Roles here. So this is the mapping file we missed here. So now I'm going to run one more time. But anyway, still we are getting column attribute may not be used to the with column. So which column it is? Configuration. Okay, so could not parse column attribute. So somewhere we are using column attribute here instead of the column level. So which one we are using? Let me see. Where we are using the column attribute. So already it is defined here. No need to use this particular column. The column already we defined, and one more time we added the particular column attribute here. So I'm expecting now everything is go successful. Oh, why we are getting null values? Which value is expecting as a null? So primitive type call valid flag. Okay. Okay. So let's see in the database whether these particular records are created or not. Select star from login. Okay. So it is created. I want to make all the values I'm making as a true. Let me run one more time. So whether the values are affected or not.
Is that we defined that as a not null?
So this particular column, I think we did not define any constraints here. But while loading this, is expecting the null values was assigned to the property. So you can see like nested servlet exception and property access exception, null values assigned. Okay, so anyway, I modified the value from the backend. Now we'll see. So now it is loading. Okay, so because of the null values, now we got an exception. So same way, we need to identify the another table, something like. So what is the table we are having? Roles table. So far we don't have any record, role ID, role name and login ID. So these are all the information. So the table structure it is created. Now we need to store the data here. Okay, so if I'm going to provide the table configurations how we are having, so big is int and one is a varchar. Okay, so we identified the table here. So what right now what I'm doing is I'm trying to connect with the same the default like in-memory authentication we are using so far. So now we are able to load this particular home page here. Okay, so now what I will do, I'm going to click on the register here. So inside this particular register, again, I'm going to save the data, string security. So Java @gmail.com and username. So string underscore ACC. String security. And finally, now what I will do, okay, meanwhile, let me so start the ActiveMQ also. Okay, it is running. whatever we added Spring Security, the same security I'm trying to store here. Click on submit. Now the security one is created. So if I'm going to see all the data, first we need to see login. Now it is created, and with help of this particular true value. Okay, so this is we created manually. This is from the database it is coming, and we need to discuss about the roles table. So why the roles table is not created? Okay. So again we have an issue. Only register and login we have. Maybe so it is not identifying the where is the user repository. So we'll put a breakpoint here. We need to identify why it is failing. So here we are setting right. So role.login we are setting, and login.set roles here. Okay, so because of 1 to 1, it is saving only one object. Okay, so I will try with the loading of this particular login will fail because it is expecting the foreign key, and so roles will not expect here. Okay, so we are having an issue. I want a template dot save. I want to save role object here. Role internally it is expecting login object. We'll identify here. Let me run one more time. So here we need to go back to the one more time, and so let me delete this record. So we don't need to insert multiple records here. So what is the record we are having? Something like 8 here. Sorry. Table. What is the table? Login L is equals to what happens? So this is we are missing, and we need to remove from the register. Okay, so what is an ID? So it is a 8 only. Okay, and Spring Security we are having. The 7 also we can delete. So it is connected with a different table. Okay, so what we can do, we'll try now. So whether if it is work successfully, okay, otherwise we'll recreate the table structure. Spring Security we are having. Now it is time to load the Spring Security object here. So finally I'm clicking this login, sorry, register security and gmail.com. we can come up with a different username. Security. So it is successfully created into the roles also. So now this is the like register, login, and roles it is inserted. If I'm going to see inside the roles, we have one record, login ID is 9. And the same way, if I'm going to see login ID 9, this is we are having. Okay, so same thing if I'm going to show you in the register, same login ID, sorry, register ID 9, it is connecting this object. So if you observe, register ID same, login ID same, the same login ID we used in the roles table. Okay, so roles ID, it is different, it started with 1. Getting the point. So this is, we need to understand the one-to-one, one-to-many, both association we are using here. Now, what I will do, so this is the object we created. Now we'll go for the database authentication. So instead of trying to store, trying to load the data from the configuration file. So far, what we are doing is, so this section we are using. Getting the point. So here we are providing the security username, string, and password security, and we are connecting to this application. Now what we need, so we need to log into the application once a user is validated. Now for this, I'm going to copy and comment out this, and here again I'm trying to providing this, and what is the section we need to identify here. This is important here. Here, so alias name I'm trying to use something like authentication manager. So authentication manager. I'm going to copy same thing. I will paste it here. Okay, so this is the alias name of this particular authentication manager I'm using. After this, so directly authentication provider, and inside this particular authentication provider, now what we can identify here, another important section. This is we are not going to use. So here, so inside this particular authentication provider, we are having user service ref. So whatever the service object we are going to create, so this is the reference of the service object we need to provide. For example, here, what is the user service we can create? So my user detail service. Okay, so this is the reference I'm making here. After providing this, we are not going to provide any other information. This is important. Now you can see, so this is we are using in-memory authentication, and this section we are trying to use for the database authentication. So where we are going to provide this particular information. Now I will show you. For this example, we need to create the one class here. So what is the class we need to use here? My user detail service. So now observe carefully. We are trying to create this particular my user detail service, and here we are going to write the implementation section. User detail service. So user detail is from the way org Spring Framework Security Core user detail service. Okay, so this is the class we given in our configuration file here. Getting the point. This particular class it is going on. Now what I want to make the annotation for service annotation. We are trying to discuss about the stereotype annotations here. Okay, here I'm trying to implement the method. We have one method, so we need to implement this here. Now here, so this particular method we implemented. So what is particular method we implemented? We need to understand it here. Private. So what is the repository class we are having? User repository we are having. So I'm trying to use same user repository. And I'm making AutoWare section here. Okay. So using this particular AutoWare section, now what we can do, here I'm going to write the user repository, load user info based on this particular username. So you're not getting the voice clear? Okay, so just observe here. Now what we are doing is, here we are trying to implement this particular that I'm calling. So this method we already discussed previously. When we are trying to log in, we are only calling this particular method to load the login information. So here the login information we are able to. Okay, so this particular login information, what I'm doing it, this is important. Getting the point. So what exactly I'm trying to implement this particular the login information. Here login equals to null, or what is the method we can use? We have a method called objects dot is null. If this particular object is null, we'll throw new username not found exception. Username message we are going to provide the information. This is important here, and the user is not null. We are going to create a method. So we are going to create a method, build this particular user authorities here. This is important. We need to understand here how we are going to build this. Here I'm trying to write the build user authorities. And here, now what I'm passing, so this is a method I'm trying to construct here. With help of this particular method, now I'm going to call login dot get roles. Okay, so with this particular method, I'm to build this. So you see here what I'm doing is to create a method here. This is a method with help of this particular roles here. Now I'm trying to setting into the user object. So from where the data we are trying to load the roles here, and the internal we are trying to into the database. Okay, so now on this we need to understand here. We need to implement this particular method here. So set of here granted. We have okay. So it is wrong here. Has attribute set is coming, but we need a has set here. Okay, so this is the set of the granted authority object I created, and internally now what I'm doing is with help of this particular roles dot for each, here I'm going to create option new. So simple granted authority, and here we can pass role dot get to role. So with help of this particular role, now I'm trying to create one object called simple granted authority, and finally now what we will do here, I'm going to set here. So where I'm trying to set here, so why this R is capital, it should be small. Okay, so this is the for each how many roles we are having. Based on this particular role, now I'm trying to set into this particular role set. So after setting this role set here, now finally what I will do, I think here we can go for the list only instead of. Okay, so this is we can identify, and simply we can return this particular section call. So it is not a role set here, it is a roles list here. This is we need to understand here. Now let me provide the return type of this method, list of granted authorities here. Okay, this is important, we need to understand here. Now finally, this is I'm trying to build here. So this is something like user authority. After this, now what I'm doing is, so build a user for authentication. So one more method we need to create here. Build a user, and here we need to pass login and so user authority. Getting the pen. So this is important here. Now with help of this, the login and the user authorities, again I'm going to create a one more method here. This is important method. Now observe carefully. Now observe here. Here only I will return this. Let me create a method. So this is the method we are trying to create here. So something is expecting user details here. Now what we will do here, we are going to create a one object call. So we are going to create a user object, but this user object we are going to from the this method username. So what is the username we are having? Login dot get username and login dot get password. login dot where is the valid flag. Password, register and role. So why we are not getting the, okay, it is not a get, it is a is valid flag. And here, so we created username and password and valid flag as well as account non-expired. So this is important here. So whether account is expired or not. So I'm making it is true. Account is not expired here. And credentials are not expired. So we don't want to expire this particular credential. We need to reuse this particular credentials here. And account we cannot make a locked here. Okay, so these are all the three sections. And now finally, what I'm doing here. So this is I'm going to make here. So this is a way of creating the user details object. So this is very important class we are discussing here. This is basically, it will try to connect with our database. This is the method we are calling the database, and internally we are loading the login object, and based on the login, if the login is null, we are throwing a exception, username not found exception, and if the object is not null, the login object will contain some information. We are trying to build the authorities like roles, the roles, whatever the roles the user current user having, we are trying to build this. And after this, now what I'm doing is I'm trying to call the one more method, so something like a build a user for authentication. So what exactly this particular build a user for authentication is doing it is trying to pass the login object as well as whatever the roles we are having, we are passing, and we are creating the new user. This user is coming from the where? This user is coming from the Spring Security. If you see this org Spring Framework Security Course user details dot user, this is not the our custom user. Getting the point. Now we are passing into user object. So this user object is going to validate the user information and it will return the user details. So once a user detail it is written, and based on this particular user details, it will try to provide the whether the user is successfully validated or not. Okay. So this is the class is going to take care of. So user validations here. Okay. Now what I will do, I am going to run the same example here. Now we are going to communicate with the database to load the user information here. So what happens here? Internally we are getting, so bean name, my user detail service is defined. Okay, so what is the user detail service we are able to see? Anything wrong? User. Okay, so I is missing. So in the registration class, here we miss VI. So whatever the class we are providing here, it should match with the custom class whatever we created. If it is not matching, it will throw an exception. So whatever the exception we have seen just now, it is trying to throw same exceptions here. Now you can see, so it is trying to providing this particular username and password. So what is the username and password we need to provide? So whatever we are having in the database. So this is the role user. Get in there. So this is information we need to pass. So login ID is 9. The 9 record we need to provide. So this is I'm copying username and the password I'm trying to copy this. So let me click on login here. Now I'm getting 401. So why I'm getting the 401? It is not able to load the login section. Getting the pen. Here it is loading only. So username. So it should load the login also. Getting the point. This is important. We need to understand here. So it should load the login section. If the load the login only, we can get the home page. So otherwise, we are going to get this particular access denied. So now what I will do, I will run the example in the debug mode so that we can identify what's happening internally. Here I'm putting a breakpoint. Now here I'm going to run this example in the debug mode. So something, the reverse, it is not loading the object here. Whatever we provided in the login, so we have a set of loads we have. Now let me copy one more time. Username and password. Security. Okay, Spring Security I provided. Now it is trying to connect it with this login page here. Now what we need identify basically what is the username we are providing, Spring underscore security. Okay, so if I'm going to come back to the next line, so this is taking long time. Okay, so user it is loading, and what do we need to identify? So here we are getting an exception. This is an exception we are getting. Because of this, what happening internally, the roles are not loading here. So invocation exception we are getting. Getting the point. So this is, we need to understand here. So why this exception is getting. Getting the point. So now what we can do, we need to go back to the, whatever the configuration we provided here. Whatever this particular configuration we provided, so we need to make this particular section login. So I'm making the inverse true. It should work here. Anything we are missing here? So now, whenever we are loading this particular login, it should load this inverse also. And what about the roles? Not null cascade all we are providing. Fetch select. Okay, here provide this information in the login also, because from the login we are loading. So what we are having, fetch, I want to use select, and another one we can go for the lazy also. So when the time of calling this particular lazy, it should load these objects here. We'll see. This is, the dependent object is not loading here. Whenever it is trying to load, it is going to get an exception here. So we need to see security I'm pausing, and I will click on the next here. So we could not get the exception first. Oh, it's getting an exception again. Okay, we'll see whenever we are calling this particular load, invocation exception only we are getting. So it should up lazy. We can go for the eager. So I want to make this, and here we can go for the join. I think it is select only. We'll see whenever we are loading the login details, we are trying to load the roles table. By default, it is lazy false only. But why we are getting this? Now it is loading. Now you can see here it is loading the roles objects. Okay, so if I'm going to see the login object, here we are going to have role object. Getting the point. This is important here. Because of this, earlier we got an exception here. Now what is a role object we are having? Something like a role user. Now we'll see this. So we are going to move on to this particular section, build section, and here I'm trying to create this role list. So it is having the simple granted authority and we are having role user. So after this, now what we are doing is we are coming back to this particular build for authentication. Now this method will call here and internally we are passing all the information into this. So if I'm going to select this is valid flag is true. Okay, let me click on F8 here. So from here it is trying to call the user service. Load home page it is calling here. Now this is the home page. Now method home page method is calling here. Now if you go to this, now we are able to see the home page here. Okay, so whatever the security related whatever we added, all the example now we are able to see here. Getting the point. This is important, we need to understand here. So how this example it is, how this particular example it is loading here. What we are doing first here, this is important here. Getting the point. So first we are giving the username and password here. So once a username and password, now it is connected to the database. In the database, it is trying to load the, so whatever the object we are having. So login object as well as roles object. Login object as well as roles object. It is trying to load this particular section here. Whenever it is trying to load here, now we are coming back to the user detail service and we are trying to pass information to the user objects here. So the Spring provided user object, now the Spring is going to compare with the object whatever we are going to provide. Based on that, now it is trying to provide the user information is success or not. If it is fail, now what happening internally, we are moving back to the 401, like whatever we are able to see access denied page here. Okay, so how we provided this particular access denied page here? So here we provided inside the home controller. Inside this particular home controller, we have here access denied page. This particular access denied page is just going to load here. Okay, so any questions? So any questions on this? The security related example, whatever we discussed so far. So we identified in-memory authentication. Now we connected with the database authentication manager. So this section will give you the in-memory authentication and whatever we are discussing this section, it is trying to provide the so database authentication. Okay. So if we don't have anything here, now what I will do, I'm going to push this particular changes also now so that we can compare this particular code and you can run the example whatever we are trying to discuss here. Okay, this is another important information we need to understand. So let me go to the git bash here. So git status, so these are all the files are modified and internally we are able to see the roles.hbm.xml file, it is newly added here. I'm adding this and after this git commit, I am trying to providing the message. So what is the message we can provide here? Something like Spring Security XML configuration. Okay, so message I added and after this what we can do, git push. So if I want to push this particular changes, now I need this particular path here. So it is now connected here. So now if I'm going to show you this GitHub, whatever we are having here, so this is the Spring Security XML configuration we are having. And yesterday we discussed about the MVC example. So for whatever we are discussing, everything I pushed into this. So you can go to the website and you can access the same link whatever we are having here. Okay, so try to practice this particular Spring Security XML. So this is important. We need to understand how it is going to work internally. Any questions? Okay, if we don't have anything, so tomorrow we'll try to continue the annotation example. So far whatever we discuss in all the XML configuration. Okay, whatever we discuss in all the XML configuration. If I'm going to expand this, now you can see whatever we discuss here. So context and transaction and MVC and JMS as well as security. These are all the particular example we discuss in the XML configuration. Now I'm going to add this example in the annotation based here. Okay, so we are going to create these many mapping classes here. Like these are all the annotation classes we are going to create here. So I1 template, session factory, data source. So this particular property configure and transaction manager and Java mail sender and another one multi-part resolver. So the last one is JMS template. So these are all the beans is required to communicate our applications. So I'm requesting it. So copy this example and continue with whatever. Why I'm getting this? Okay, maybe it is modified, it's showing here. Okay, anyway, now what we need to understand, so copy this all the example and continue to implement to whatever you're trying to write, because so far each and every section we implemented. So come up with so create some UI pages here. So whatever the UI pages we created so far, come up with new UI pages and try to implement this example, expand this application. Getting the point. This is important. So based on this, whatever we discuss here, try with the additional examples here. So far, just we implemented here only. So saving the data into this and we are trying to load this. Okay. So same way you can try with your profile, updating your profile and deleting your profile. Getting the point. So and try with any one of the applications. So for example, if you go to this particular any one of the websites, the main example, so you can select. So we'll go for the Twitter. Okay, so we can go for this particular what I'm having my account. So not this, I'm having Java underscore. So password. So what is the password I'm having for this particular Twitter? Okay, so what I want to provide here, so this is important. Now you can create this particular section. Okay, home like. Now what we are having here, you can provide this particular like image section something. So just to come up with only image file upload here and write some message here and come up with this particular button, tweet button. Okay, so whenever you are trying to upload the same thing, so far whatever you are trying to use the input type file. Okay, the type file it will fix into this location. Getting the point. So if we want to add a this particular location field, we can add in the HTML we have a location the tag. We can add this also. So later you can identify. First is come up with the type this particular file and build one button called tweet button whenever you're trying to click on this particular tweet button, now what we will do, we'll try to save the data. And after saving this, now what we are doing is we are trying to coming back to the same home page here. Getting this? So we are trying to coming back to the home page here. So same, this particular example you can build here. Okay, so and additionally, you can come up with this particular sections here. You can provide the profile section, and so message section you can create, and another one is something notification. So try with these three. So later you can come up with this additional sections. Just what you need here in the home page, you can write the home page like this here. Okay, so you can provide the home page here, and so in the last section you can provide the profile section, and here you can provide the notification. So these are all the tabs basically. Okay, and you can identify the message. So this is message for, you can create the message table. For the notification, you can create the notification table. So profile already we are having the register one. Okay, you can load the data from the register table. Getting the pen. So whenever they are trying to click on the profile, you are going to hit the register table and you will load the data. Okay, so when we are trying to click on the messages, you are going to hit the message table. So same thing, notification table. And when we are trying to click on the home page, so we are trying to redirect into slash, or you can provide the one more, the endpoints home / home, where we can provide here. So inside the current whatever we are building here. So here, if I'm going to expand this home controller, so far here we are trying to providing the slash. Here we are providing the slash. So come up with one more value /home, so that it will try to redirect into this particular message. Otherwise, create a one more controller. So for the message purpose, you can go for the message controller, and notification purpose, you can go for the notification controller. So profile purpose, you can create the profile controller. Get in the pen. So these are all the three different controllers we are creating. Same way, message service, notification service, profile service, get in the pen, and message repository, notification repository, and profile repository. So that we are going to come up with a separate URLs here. Okay, so instead of slash, it will redirect you. So modify this. Get in the pen. So if you want to load the home controller, you can add /home. And if you want to load the message controller, so basically what we will do in the message controller, whenever we are trying to provide. For example, if I want to load this particular login, now what I am doing is home page. What I am doing is here I am trying to click the references. Like this is the anchor tag we are providing login. Same way you can type with a message. Get in the pen. So now if I want to understand this, now it's a simple one. After here we can go for the message and notification. Message section, and you can provide the message. So this is the endpoint. So message, and here we can go for the notification. Getting the pen. And here now what we can write here, whatever we are having, notification, and the final one, what we can provide here, something like a profile. So you can write with a profile here. Get in the pen. So these are all we added right now. Now what you need is, if I'm going to refresh this, we'll see. So it should reflect here. Any exception? Server is stopped here. Okay, server is stopped here. Now again, I'm going to run this. So I will show you the demo how it is going to work here. So it is easy to implement, but we need to set more time here. So we need to complete if I want to work with any applications here, but only we need to come up with different classes, and the different services will provide the different informations here. So for example, now it is loading here. So here now you can see here login, register, message, notification, and profile. So now I'm able to build the tabs here. Okay, if I'm trying to click on the profile, now it is going to the profile. So far we did not build any profile related section. Get in the pen. And if you're coming back to this, now it will go to the notification. So this is the notification section. And the same thing, you can come up with a message. Now it is moving into the message. So just implement this particular sections here. Get in the pen. So that, for example, in the UI, same as it is, if I'm trying to click on this particular message. So right now we don't have any message. Okay, now what you can do, write a message. So it is opening the new tab and opening the something. So whenever you're trying to type the message, Okay, whenever you type the message, now what happens internally, it will go to in the message table, it will save the data. So you need to prepare like this. Okay, so you need to prepare. So now I got some notification, and you can see the profile related here. Okay, so you can see this particular profile information. So everything we can store into the profile table, or whatever we are using, the current table called notification. Okay, so try this. So try with whatever we are having right now, this particular XML applications here. Okay, so tomorrow we'll continue whatever we implemented in the XML, so we can come up with a annotation example. If you are having an exception, you need to sit in the Google, try to resolve an exception, because in the Spring we'll get lot of exceptions, so we need to resolve one by one here. Any questions? Okay, so if we don't have anything, so I'm going to stop the session up to here. We'll continue tomorrow. We'll try to discuss about the annotation examples. For recorded session, you can access this link here. Now I will paste it here. Okay, you can access this link.